let me jump in as well, simply to thank the good folk of Sid City for their really generous and kind and loving messages. It was much appreciated, as my friend Rachel Maddow says. And so, it really was. And now I'm going to go and eat my pizza. I love you all. I had a great time tonight.
We all love you, Andy. We love you so much.
Thank you again, Andy.
Have a safe
It's
holiday.
so good to see you here.
I love you, Andy.
Love you all madly.
Thank you so much.
Good to see you.
Welcome back.
Happy
Have a
Thanksgiving.
good night.
Have a good night. We are going to start with Laura.
Hey.
Hello again, Laura. Good to see you.
Thank you. Your birthday, I got myself a present.
Oh, good. That's what you should do on everyone's birthday.
I ordered a copy of that curry and kimchi book.
Oh, fantastic.
Because when they came on, you started talking about their hoisin sauce recipe.
Yeah.
And I have been looking for a hoisin sauce recipe, say that 10 times fast,
Yes.
for like a decade. I mean, literally, it's been a life quest. And I thought, if you say that theirs is good, my long night is over.
There's a caveat to that. What theirs isn't a hoisin particularly. But their ribs are called a hoisin sauce. So what they're gonna ask you to make a bunch of stuff and add some hoisin to it.
Okay.
And you're gonna improve on the hoisin. So it's gonna be just divine, I promise you. When you put them on whatever it is you please, some chicken wings or some, I don't know, tofu, whatever everybody likes. It's gonna be so good. I'll give you a warning about that book. And I wanted to talk about it with them that day, but I didn't. It's a warning that it's a thing I love, but some people might find it intimidating. Is that it's a multi-stage process, sort of the authentic cuisine that they're finding. So you spend a bit of time making components.
Okay.
And then those components go into the recipes. So it's a sort of two-stage love affair. So you're just making the supporting actors, and then you make the movie later with those actors.
Sounds
and
good.
I find it so therapeutic. And ignore their advice about how long you should keep things in the fridge. Use your own common sense, because they're just terrified, as anyone should be, of being sued.
Yeah.
But a lot of that stuff can be kept in the fridge for weeks longer than they say. It's just the same stuff.
The clincher, because you mentioned that. You said they say 2 weeks, but you could go 4. And I thought, okay, that's my type of cookbook. I can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the cooked product, you should probably be careful with. But the ingredients, I've been keeping them in my fridge for 6 months, because I know that honey and vinegar and all these things are totally fine in a good fridge. But and if I don't keep any sort of stocks or any kind of things that literally have fungus growing on them or something. And you also cook the hell out of them when you cook them, so you nuke them again next time you come to them. But just use your common sense. Otherwise, it's a terrible waste of energy and effort to have to make this delicious thing and 2 weeks later have to throw the rest or the ingredients away, because you might want to make something else 2 weeks later.
Well, I'll bear that all in mind. And so thank you again for that. And I'm really looking forward to using it. And tonight, I actually sent Mel some pictures.
Oh.
Because, we've been talking, you bringing up this topic of love a lot, which is near and dear to my heart for so many reasons, but mainly because it makes me think about my girls and how much I love being a mom. Yeah. And then I was thinking about in terms of your birthday, and I wanted to share a little bit about being adopted. Oh. I'm adopted, and my younger daughter is adopted, and my sister's adopted. My mom is one of 9, and 4 of her siblings all adopted. So of the first cousins, 8 of us are adopted.
Oh my goodness.
And we've gone on to adopt. And so my family kind of has a culture of adoption. As you've been talking about love and about talking about birthdays and all that, I was thinking a lot about how being adopted really shapes my understanding of what love is. And I just wanted to share a little bit about that.
Please do. I'd love to know.
The picture that Mel just put up there, that is me when I'm 10 months old in the arms of the judge who proceeded over my adoption.
Oh my goodness.
He's the one who signed the papers. We have this picture because my case was the last thing he ever did. And then he hung up his roses for good and he retired. So he wanted my dad to take the picture. But my dad also really wanted the picture because when I was born, And
Yes.
at that time in
Right.
California, there was no such thing as an open adoption. Everything was a closed adoption. There also was no such thing as paternal rights. You know, before there's DNA testing and the ability to prove who a dad is, you know, the birth mother decided everything.
Right.
And so my birth mother had agreed to give me up for adoption, and I was going to be adopted. But my paternal grandmothers lodged a case in court to try to get custody of me.
Oh,
and
wow.
it being 1964, that wasn't going to go anywhere. Today, she would have gotten custody of me, but in 64, not. Technically, by law in California, adoptions were made final a year later. But because the court was adjourning for summer, this particular judge agreed to make my adoption final at age 10 months.
Right.
So it was kind of a big deal. And when I was growing up, we celebrated my birthday, but what we really celebrated was August 21. That was the day I came home after 3
Yep.
weeks. And my dad was always really big on June 21 because that's when this picture was taken. And so I look at that and I just smile. And adoption is hardly normal. You know, as humans, we don't give birth and then immediately hand a child over to a stranger to raise our child and say goodbye forever. This is not what we do. When someone's adopted, it's because on some level something has gone terribly, terribly wrong. And at the same time, my experience with adoption and being adopted and being an adopted parent is that adoption is also something where something goes terribly, terribly right.
Yeah.
And it's because of love. And for me, love is a decision and it's a commitment. It's that thing you do every day, that discipline and the commitment to nurture another human being. I just feel like I've experienced that in such a blessed way because something went wrong,
Yeah.
but then also something went right.
Yeah.
I met my birth mother at age 29.
Oh, wow.
One day I looked at it and said, you know what? Doesn't matter where I came from. What it matters is where I'm going.
Yeah. And it's a bit of a construct, isn't it? The idea, the nature of the parent-child relationship is construct. I mean, we have made the rules for it. And nature has its own way of dealing with it, but nature is much more brutal. It's just like, right, you're big enough, you're 4 months out the door, you know, and they never see each other again. So what we've added a kind of layer of sentimentality to that. And I suppose that's because we need to make sure that parents look after their children. But it doesn't really matter as long as love is present, which parents we're talking about. I mean, in the Sudan, where I was born, at least back then, I think everything's changed as everything has everywhere. All the women in the house would look after all the children, but they would look after them in 10, 20-minute phases, and then they would take another child. So children would just keep moving around all the women in the family, and everybody lived together. That's wonderful. I think that is a really beautiful example of love.
Adoption is an attitude, and it is that fundamental attitude of we're all related.
Yeah.
That we're all one. But I just remember so vividly being little and someone saying to me, well, you know, how do you know? Like when you walk down the street, do you know? And I thought, well, I could be related to any of those people. That person could be my aunt or my uncle. And at some point, what flipped in my mind was I could be related to anyone. Therefore, I am related to everyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I can look at you and, you know, hi. And I can look at you and say, you are my brother. Mel is my sister. And that for me, there's no irony to that. There's no filter to that. It's just kind of, I don't know. That's the gift that being adopted has given me.
There was a guy called Jeremy who came to my birthday, who came after Micah, who was an astrophysicist.
Yeah. I remember you talking to him. Yeah.
I was a bit confused because I couldn't prepare my astrophysics questions. And normally you have to get your head into, if you're like me, you have to get your head into a certain space to even, no pun intended, to talk about astrophysics. Yeah. What I wanted to get into him with this was kind of more metaphysical, because I think the universe is quite an interesting thing. Part of my fascination with the universe and black holes and antimatter and quantum and all of that is that I feel a real affinity to things millions of miles away that I have never seen or touched, and probably would die if I touched. But there's a universal truth to everything that we're doing. And this is getting a bit like, you know, I mean, you live in California. I was about to say Californian. Go ahead, say it. That's the reputation. It's one of those things that I really deeply think, I feel. So very hard for me to understand racism.
But
sexism.
you feel it because it's true. And I've mentioned this guy's name to Mel in case it was of interest to you. There's a guy named Polkinghorne, a professor named Polkinghorne who taught physics at Cambridge, who was an atheist, decided he found faith. He became an Anglican priest. But he came into faith through physics because he studied wave particle matter, and just said, you know what, there's a unitary theory of everything, of creation, and that there's no solidity, that we're all just wavelengths, that we all are connected. I personally think that's beautiful. I think it's freeing. I think it's also the essence of adoption, that there is just no division.
I love that.
I really,
it's fascinating to me that there is no edge in the world.
No, there's no edge.
Nothing has an edge. They're just atoms moving at different speeds. And when you put your hand on the table, there's nothing there but a bunch of atoms. There's nothing solid there. Yeah. It's just atoms moving at different paces. And that's kind of mind-blowing to me. I see the same thing with people, and you being adopted and saying that you think of it as a beautiful thing because we're not different people. We're just atoms moving at different speeds.
You know, in China, they have a saying or a construct, I guess, called the red thread. That there's an invisible red thread that binds you to every person that you're intended to be bound to in some way. And my younger daughter is adopted. She's adopted from China. When I learned about the one-child policy, I was about 18. I said, someday I'm going to adopt a little girl from China. I don't know if I'll have a biological child, which I did. She's the one that looks like me. And her name is Anna. And then Iris there in the middle. But I just knew that was where the universe was taking me. Even today, I'll hug Iris and I'll say, you're my red thread baby. And she'll say, you're my red thread mommy. I asked her if she'd come down and say hi if we ended up talking, and she just looked at me and said, no.
You're quite right.
15, I don't do this.
Yeah.
And my older daughter is in a plane right now coming home from university. Her semester just ended, so she's not here with me to talk either. She would say that Iris is her red thread sister.
Yeah, it's a beautiful family.
Thank you.
Nice, lovely unit.
And I can tell you have one biological child. When I was growing up, I have older siblings who are biological siblings from my father. And, you know, my parents would always say, no, we love you just as much, you know. And I'd be like, oh, yeah, whatever. And, you know, I had Anna. And then the moment I held Iris in my arms, I thought, oh, they were right. You really do love them just as much. There's no difference for adopted and biological. They're just the loves of your life.
They are. I mean, I have to be honest. When my son was born, I was 29. I was just coming into 30, that sort of area. When Nana became pregnant, I don't know love like a thing. It's not a tap that switches on off. I had to learn to love Django, and he had to win my love, win my respect. And for the first 4 or 5 years, it was just difficult. I just remember it being at that age, in my late 20s, I just found it's like my whole life just changed, and I just don't know quite what to do under these circumstances. I'm incredibly selfish, you know. I'm incredibly envious I'm jealous of my time. I'm very careful about giving it away, and well, at least I was. He taught me a trick or two. But my God, he taught me how to love him. But he had to do the work. I didn't. He did it, which is amazing. And he won my respect. And I think we ought to win each other's respect all the time. It's a cycle. We must never stop. And that's demonstrative.
I'm really grateful that this is the sort of conversation we can have with this whole group. I'm glad to share this with you, but also just to share with the whole group that this is such a unique place to have conversations like this. And I just really thanks.
Yeah, thank you. It's funny, you can listen to a little play and then dive into a conversation like this.
Right. There's no edge.
There's no edge, exactly.
Good. Well, you take care.
Thank you, Laura. Until next time.
All right. Our next guest is Carlos.
Oh, wonderful. Well, I'm kind of rusty with my English. I'm from Mexico City. And I hope I can express myself well.
You're doing well now.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, well, I'm just starting to shoot, short films. I just shot mine 9 months ago, and I really appreciate your work right now. You know, with this stuff on YouTube you're publishing. I think it's wonderful to see how with the acting is the core to me of this stuff, this craft, because I really enjoy, of course, Star Trek and sci-fi in general, and it has like all these visual effects and so on. But I think the core, the acting, is really important, and I think you are expressing that with these videos. I also like to thank you for these meetings, which I think is very special, especially during these days, with the pandemic and stuff. And I would like to ask you a couple of questions
Sure.
because I'm on the final stages of the post-production of my short film, which deals with artificial intelligence.
Right.
And like kind of dystopian way, a little, not like Terminator, but more like kind of Hair, kind of a blend with Hair and Black Mirror.
Right.
And
Right.
yeah. And
Great.
Thank you. And I would like to ask you, what makes a great acting performance?
What makes a great painting? I can only give you my own idea, tell you what my own thoughts are on that, because the beautiful thing about acting and art generally, although I'm not sure acting is art, but I'll talk about that another time, is that people take it as they want to, and and the more people agree, then the better you are. It's simple, but usually it's an actor will tell you that, or a great director like you might be any day, that it's based in truth. And once you start dealing with this slippery word truth, you end up in the territory where good art and good science live and breathe. And that's the thing we have in the art and science have in common, is the hunt for truth, the search for the truth. And when you write something, which I'm sure you often do, my job is to stop your words from hitting the page and put them somewhere live. Because when they end up on the page, they just become words. But when you're thinking of them, and when the characters are dancing in your head, that's what I've got to try and convey. The thing that got you excited to start writing before you went, it just doesn't work when I write it this way. Then we can just hijack that. So the dance between you behind the camera and me in front of the camera is where the art is. And I don't know if it's me or you, but it's certainly an area in the middle. And I think that's what makes a great actor, because everybody agrees, everybody feels that they've expressed the thoughts in their head the way when they read a book or when they read a wonderful script. They've just inhabited those characters the way they imagine them. And I think that's pretty much it. But obviously there are simple things, like technical things, like being able to show emotion. It's quite useful. But the greats are poets, and the greats really do capture the thought before it hits the page. I hope that's useful. How much longer have you got with your edit?
Month and a half.
Okay.
Yeah,
we'd love to see it. Is you taking it to festivals, or are you going to put it on YouTube?
Yeah, I'm taking it to festivals this in 2021, and
Yes.
also like after that I'm putting it on Vimeo, I think, and also maybe YouTube. Because of the rules they have and stuff.
Absolutely. Well, when you've shown it to everybody that you need to show it to, we'd
course.
love a live performance without we don't need to record it, so we won't put it on YouTube from here. but we'd just love to see it.
Well, yeah, yeah.
That would be. Would you show it to us? That would be, because this is just lovely that someone has made a short. And
yeah, I will be very glad to. And I can also just read you the storyline is just like 4 lines. It's very brief.
fantastic. And then we can talk about it. I'd love that. And
Yeah.
there's so many people in this group who are so talented at talking about these things, about art in general.
Yeah, of course, sensitive. I think. Well, the storyline is just this. The name is Ada Office, which is like we have now virtual assistants, and this is a virtual boss. So the storyline goes on like this.
Yeah.
Ada Office is a new virtual boss that has reached companies around the world with the aim of optimizing their productivity and performance to the maximum. Emilio, a shy office worker, works a seemingly perfectly routine guided by the personalized recommendations of this artificial intelligence. He competes to be the best computer programmer until he receives terrible news that confronts him with his humanity, exposing the darkest side of both. Well, kind of like that.
That sounds cool. That sounds really good. Really love the sound of that. And did you find performers who were friends of yours, or from a university, or professional actors? Who did you get to work with you?
Well, yeah, real actors. I mean, I won a pitch competition in a workshop I attended.
Yeah.
So they gave me equipment. The other part was financed by a friend and me. Yeah. And yeah, we arranged to get a crew, like to have a crew. And we have actors, the colorist or color grader, editor, and so on. I try to keep it like the most professional I can. And
yeah, you have to. You have to compete. You have to.
Yeah, exactly. Especially these days, where we have like the internet, which is very competitive growth of images and audio and stuff. And I think we have to have quality over anything else.
Absolutely. They say you can shoot things on iPhone, and you can shoot things on a smartphone. But if you look at everybody's pictures here in the social club, they're all mostly terribly lit, even the good ones.
Yeah.
But by film standards, because you need lights that you'd be so surprised to see the lights on a film set. It's just like, whoa, how do you do this? How do you manage this? Or the genius of a photographer who can do with just no light, but an amazing camera. I'm really glad you're doing it. I'm really glad you did it properly too. I mean, I think this is the way. It really is. Carlos. I wish you huge luck. You're going to need it, but you're coming from a great country with a tradition of really rich tradition of filmmaking, and they want you to succeed, internationally. So they're going to find you in Mexico and throw you to America and Europe and say, here, we have the greatest Mexican new filmmaker. Oh, here are 5. That's fantastic. That's really great. So do you live with your family? Are you living alone? What's your situation?
Right now I live with my family because, of this,
everybody does. Yeah.
I mean, like, of this situation right now. I'm just starting in this craft, the filmmaking. One of the most important things also is to get dialogue with sensitive people like you, to, like, to expose with human beings, which is, I think it's one of also another fundamental thing, because this is communication after all, Yeah. Connection.
We have a couple of club guys, people in this room who are in Mexico, at least over the months. I don't know if they're here every week, but they've been calling from Mexico and talking to us from the city, from Mexico City. And I would tell them how much I love Rufino Tamayo. And they'd be like, oh, Rufino Tamayo. And I remember taking my phone downstairs to show my Tamayu painting on the wall, which I'm so proud of. And I think I'm really excited to see your film, and I hope you can show us if you don't feel too shy, or if you don't feel that, but do all the things you have to do to make sure you don't disqualify yourself from festivals because they like you showed it to someone. Yeah, we can't show you, we can't watch it. They have weird rules. But come back and show us and talk to us about how you made it, and talk to us about what you were trying to achieve and what you thought you managed. And because it would be really interesting to see a filmmaker's point of view of with their work, what they thought they would, because I know that when you first come up with an idea, when you take it up, when you make a film, it becomes a different thing. It never survives the idea. Every film turns into something else, and it'd be really interesting to see how that worked with you.
Yeah, I will highly appreciate it. Yeah, of course they say writing is rewriting. Yeah,
and then you make 3 movies, the one you write, the one you shoot, and the one you edit.
Yeah. You got it.
Yeah,
Thank you. That's
it's
all
a pleasure,
from me.
Thank you, my friend. Please come back if you feel like it.
Thank you very much.
We want to talk to Jen for just a minute. She has some art that she wanted to share.
Oh, we'd love to see that.
Hi. Did you have a good birthday?
I had a wonderful birthday, Jen. Thank
good.
you. It was great fun. You managed to make it in?
No, I didn't.
Oh, it was great fun. You'd have seen me all crazy, meeting all these people and not quite working out what was going on at the beginning. It's like, what's happening here? I don't really understand.
Yeah.
I had a terrific time. Time flew.
About a year and a half ago, I started making a bust out of clay, and I made a Garrick, but it took like a year to dry. So This is my Garrick head.
Oh my goodness.
So it's not, it's kind of deformed because I did like the modeling in apparently they spot, oh yeah, that was you. So
it's phenomenal. It's great.
Yeah. So I
wow.
See, there's the hair. It lies back in its hair. Yeah.
Did you lose patience? Did you go, wait a minute, it's going to take so long to dry? Is it solid?
Yeah, it's hollowed out on the bottom, but
okay.
So the head is not solid.
Oh, you must have felt so proud to finally when you could pick it up.
I made some mistakes like physically, like I forgot the nose ridges like along the nose, so I just took an acrylic Sharpie and like drew them in.
So best artists do that. The best of them.
Exactly.
He had Sharpies inside his robe here, all these little Sharpies.
They're actually acrylic paint pens, so they're not quite Sharpies, but so yeah. There you go.
It's wonderful. It's charming. It is absolutely charming.
Yeah.
It's really good. But and did you anticipate that it would take you a year to get to pick it up?
I knew it would take a year and a half or a year to dry. I didn't even know what kind of paint to use because it's been 20 years since the last time I did a bust. So I couldn't remember what kind of paint. So it may just all fall apart at some point. But
I mean, doesn't it, I mean, I'm just guessing, but you will obviously know, having just done this and done it 20 years ago too, that if you make something in a wet form like clay and let it dry, is there a specific way you let it dry? It'll change shape.
Probably. I don't have a drying oven, and this is supposed to be self-drying. So I don't know. I figure after a year it'll
self-drying. That's really not a boast, is it? It's self-drying, but it's going to take a year.
Well, little things self-dry in like a lot less time. Like if you make a little shape of a communicator. Yeah. If you make a little one of those, that'll dry a whole lot faster.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got a big football-sized head, and it's Garrick's, and we know Garrick's head is astonishingly large anyway.
Yes.
So you got that bit right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Really lovely. That's terrific, Jen. What do you got cooking next?
Like Thanksgiving dinner or what artwork?
No, in terms of your busts. I'm sure you've got your eyes set on waiting for another year, looking at a bust drying on the shelf.
Because of the pandemic, where I go to get my clay, they don't actually have supplies in because they're not priority. Like, I don't know how that works, the whole shipping logistics and stuff, but they've been running short on like everything and they can't get supplies in. So I have to wait.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, waiting seems to be what you do. Are you cooking Thanksgiving for more than you and you?
My husband, Jason. And we're kind of improvising Thanksgiving. I forgot to buy vegetables to go with it. We have powdered mashed potatoes.
That's improvised.
And then and then I got a chicken breast, so there's nowhere to stuff the stuffing. So we're just gonna put it underneath and have the turkey juice run over it.
That's a very good idea.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a terrific idea. That will flavor that wonderfully.
You see, there you go. Problem solved.
Problem solved. And you know what? Tomorrow is still a shopping day, so you can get some cheeky Brussels sprouts.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know how to cook them safely, like deliciously.
Well, they're not actually all that hard as long as you don't overcook them. You can just boil them, steam them, depending on how big they are, and don't let them go. Can you see? That's a kind of normal Brussels sprout, like a walnut.
Right.
You don't want to cook a walnut Brussels sprout for more than 15 minutes, but 10, you want to have a little taste, And if you want to chop them in half, they'll be done much quicker.
I think I cut them in half before last time I cooked them.
Yeah, you want to go maybe 6 minutes.
Okay.
If you like a little crunch.
Yeah, I think I might have overcooked them just a tad.
Yeah, in the old days, people loved all that. My wife likes to read an ancient recipe book from back in the day, the 19th century. And it's like carrots, for them to be digestible, should be cooked for no less than 2 hours on a strong boil. So we've moved a bit ahead of times now. We're all up to speed. We're in a different place. But I would highly recommend that. Or I would. Do you have problems waiting? Because waiting over the stove, while things cook. Do you get distracted, like to walk away and do other stuff and go, oh my goodness, I forgot that?
No, if I have to be at the stove, I tend to just bring my phone with me and kind of do it, or I make my husband come with me and cook with me. That's the best thing, really.
That's the holy grail. That means you got someone to chat to and everything's great.
Yeah.
Well, I would highly recommend that. And if you can buy bags of cranberry for nothing, and you just squeeze in an orange, the juice of an orange.
I have cranberries, and I have the recipe from my mother.
Boom.
So
you're gonna have that. You're gonna have a delicious Thanksgiving. You're gonna have and you've got stuffing.
Yes.
It's gonna be perfect.
It's my mother's recipe of stuffing too, which is very popular, except we're not making it spicy, we're making it sweet. So
what do you put in?
Well, usually she uses hot Italian pork sausage, except that I don't like pork, so we use chicken sausage, but then Jason doesn't really like the hot sausage, so we're doing sweet Italian chicken sausage.
Right.
So
delicious.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can chop up an apple into that, and that will also make it even more delicious.
We have apple cider.
You can absolutely reduce some apple cider, and then but just get it to almost very little, so there's very little left in the pan. It gets a gooey, sticky, and the end of the apple cider, and that way your mince, your ground chicken sausage won't get too wet.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Yeah.
We're all licking our lips.
2 more days.
I know, 2 more days. And here's me telling people how to cook when I just had 2 of the world's best cooks on my website on Sid City on Friday. And they made this wonderful cookbook called Kimchi and Curry. And they came and talked to me. And then I had Harry Sue, the legend. Harry Sue on the internet, who cooks, who's the barbecue champion, who came and told everybody. He gave me specific advice on how to smoke my turkey this year. Jen, thank you
Good.
very much. It's lovely to see your
Good.
beautiful
Lovely.
head of Garak.
Thank you. Thanks, Mel.
Thanks, Jen. Also, I'd like to put in a vote for roasted Brussels sprouts.
Oh, I
Roasted.
love roasted Brussels sprouts. I was thinking that might be a little ambitious because of the heat so I just thought, well, if you're not ready to do that yet, I would highly recommend whacking your oven up to 400, cutting your Brussels sprouts in half and sticking them in the oven and shaking them in oil for a bit and shaking them halfway through and you get these crispy Brussels sprouts. They're totally delicious.
Are there Brussels sprouts in the cookbook?
You know, I don't know if there are. There are tons of vegetarian dishes.
Okay.
Oh, in our cookbook or in the one I was telling you about, kimchi and curry?
No, the our cookbook.
Oh,
I haven't looked through it yet.
No,
Okay, we are going to our final segment of the evening, which is going to be Elmi doing a special birthday tarot card reading.
Tell me.
So yes, what I'm going to be doing for you is a tarot reading. I mean,
Scary.
I was I was going to do this for your birthday thing, but then like I didn't know you had that epic lineup, and I was just thinking, like, by the end, what are you going to be expecting? Like me to summon Bowie's ghost?
And David Bowie's on. They've resurrected David Bowie for me.
I mean, I'm a witch, but I'm not that powerful. Actually, okay, so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be doing a past, present, future tarot reading for you.
Right.
Because I mean, for your birthday, because it's a good reading, I guess, like for the year ahead. So like anything in your past, anything that represents your future, and anything that.
Is it relatively sort of abstract, or is it sort of, how literal is it? My stepfather used to tell a story when his first wife, he only ever kissed 2 women in his life, my mother and his previous wife. And his previous wife lived with him for only a couple of years. And she died. But she went to a person who read her palm, and the person refused to read her palm. And that always spooked me. But you're not refusing, so that's a good start. If you suddenly look at a card and go, oh my goodness. Oh,
okay. Apparently, I'm a very gentle reader. So even with even with like the bad cards, but there's always like a way to.
There's several ways to read every card.
There's so many ways to read it. So I'll start shuffling. So I'm looking for a card to represent your past first.
Okay.
So there'll always be many ways to read the cards. I mean, there's 78 cards here. They all have distinctive meanings, but there's a lot of crossover between meanings. The reading of them tends to depend on context. So like what cards it comes up next to. So then there's readings I've done this exact spread.
And you're just giving a little lesson on the basics of the tarot.
My brain is just, wow, okay, we have a card. Yeah, oh, so that was what I was gonna say, like the way I shuffle tends to be, I just keep shuffling until a card jumps out.
I think that was lovely. I think we have I love the tarot. Thank you. I think that's brilliant. I want to see the photo and whatever you have.
The one thing that I would like to do is pull a card for the entire social club. This is an oracle deck rather than a tarot deck. So tarot decks are very structured. Whereas the oracle decks they're created by the artist, and they can be anything. They can have any number of cards. I like this one in particular because it's very simple. It has a very simple message on each card, and it's easily understandable, easily transferable to any. I guess you can apply it to as many situations. And oh, there we go. Okay, this is a really interesting one to come up in this situation, but this is kind of funny actually.
That's something.
It says take a field trip, which is exactly what we should not be doing. But then there's 2 other cards that come out as well. So this one says inhale, exhale. And this one says begin again. Figuring out how to apply this to 63 people who are most in lockdown. Yeah, somebody in the chat said meditation. I would agree. So it's like we can't go anywhere. Like go somewhere in your mind. Like take a deep breath and like lose yourself in a story in some other world, some other story. I mean, like you said, like the tarot tells a story, and like we can find these stories inside us or outside us. Like read some fan fiction, you know. I would say that the begin again is like every single day is like leave everything behind just for a little bit, because there is so much going on. There is so much. We have responsibilities, and to ourselves, to the world, to our family, but to our friends, figure out how to step back from it for a moment. Like if you were getting overwhelmed, breathe in, breathe out. It will be better.
It's great, Amy. Thank you.
For those in the US, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.